Have you ever received a speeding ticket from a forest ranger? While they are federal officers, other agencies have jurisdiction over traffic laws. So what happens when one agency steps into the jurisdiction of another? Which one has authority, federal or local? Well, in Utah, one law put into place last year answers that question, but it comes with some controversy.
That issue became a big one in 2 or 3 years ago when there became a rash of incidents where BLM rangers, park rangers, were trying to enforce state laws quite dramatically, trying to use state jails, trying to take the place of local sheriffs in enforcing everyday state laws.
Never has there been congressional authority given to BLM to have law enforcement. It has never been established for them. We go back every year to try to get them to show us where that authority, they derive that authority.
Over the past few years, several high-profile incidents of federal land agents enforcing state or local laws have raised eyebrows among Utah sheriffs and lawmakers. The arrests of 23 accused Indian artifact traffickers was deemed inappropriate by several sheriffs. And the Bureau of Land Management came under fire in 2009 for what was seen by some as the menacing of protesters in Paria Canyon outside of Kanab after a road closure. In order to stem what many sheriffs and local law enforcement officials saw as a tide of federal encroachment, State Representative Mike Noel introduced House Bill 146 in the 2010 session.
The bill that we ran a couple of years ago specifically dealt with the county sheriff as being the chief law enforcement officer within any given county. And it goes back to the Federal Land Policy Management Act, wherein it requires the federal agencies, including the Forest Service and the BLM, to contract with the local sheriffs for their law enforcement. The power seated in the county sheriff is a power given to him by the people, which can be taken away at election every 4 years. They can take that power away from him. In the case of a federal law enforcement officer, they're only accountable to a line officer, most of which, in the case of BLM, Forest Service, and even the Park Service, are line officers. They don't have any law enforcement background. So you can see the opportunity there for mischief.
HB 146 would prohibit federal officers from the Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and National Park Service from exercising any law enforcement not explicitly authorized in federal law. The bill passed and was signed into law by the governor in March of last year. Not everyone agreed with that conclusion that the federal land agents were overstepping their jurisdiction in Utah, though, and claimed the law would interfere with other national law enforcement efforts.
There was a concern that there might be some crimping of the ability of DEA and FBI agents to do their job, but we've heard no reports of that. Again, this bill is aimed tightly at your basic park rangers, your basic Forest Service rangers, who sometimes get out of hand and play like their deputy sheriff on all kinds of state and domestic issues that they really have no business. They have one job, and that's to protect the federal lands from abuse.
Because the county sheriff is elected and accountable to the people within his own jurisdiction, within his county boundaries, that he can override those federal agencies that are there, that he does have the authority to say whether you can or cannot practice your law enforcement duties within his county jurisdiction.
Iron County is made up mostly of about 67% federal land. The federal government, as far when it comes to law enforcement, any federal agency has to come through the sheriff's department before they can enforce. They have to work through us. They can't come into our county and enforce laws independent of the sheriff's department.
Coming up in our roundtable discussion, we'll take a look at this new law and the effect it's having on the relationship between land management agencies and the sheriffs, which hold jurisdiction over counties. For the county seat, I'm Susan Wood. Back to you, Chad.
Thank you, Susan, for that report. We will be back to discuss law enforcement, state versus federal. We'll bring in people that have a lot of experience. We will have San Juan County Commissioners and the San Juan County Sheriff for our roundtable discussion right here on the county seat.
If you look up epic in the dictionary, it's defined as heroic, majestic, or impressively great. Here in Kane County, Utah, we don't need a dictionary to tell us that. We live it every day. Stop reading about life and start experiencing it in Kane County. ATV adventures, jeep excursions, hike a world where the Old West was yesterday and tomorrow is just over the horizon. Kane County, Utah, where epic is more than just a word, it's our way of life.
The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration. SITLA manages 3.5 million acres of Utah lands with the express purpose of furthering the education of Utah students while promoting local industry, oil and gas, even residential development, all at the same time. Through the careful use of trust lands, we distributed more than $22 million to Utah schools last year. The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration, building the state's permanent school fund.
Have you gone on an adventure lately? Have you explored the world? Have you really seen Utah? Join AYL at your leisure each week and see your backyard like never before. Hosts Chad Booth, Malia Bascom, Stephen Heumann, and Reagan Ledbetter open up the outdoors like never before. Catch up with adventure on AYL, Saturday nights at 11, Sunday mornings at 9 on ABC4.
In order for there to be adventure, there must first be a land that offers it. In order for there to be discovery, there must first be something undiscovered. It's time you discovered northeastern Utah's dinosaur lands, the trails, water, beauty, and history that have been 65 million years in the making. Take your journey to a destination where adventure is only limited by your imagination. Join us in Uinta County, Undiscovered Utah.